Those people like myself who for many years have been involved in working with teachers at different levels, beginning teachers and experienced teachers and so on, need to think about the difference between what we call teacher training and teacher development. And so I'd like to try to clarify my understanding of those two terms and approaches. Now, if you go into any institution and watch teachers teaching, what do you see happening? You see teachers at the board or at the laptop, you'd see them giving instructions, you see them organizing students into groups, you see them doing sorts of activities, exercises of different kinds, which they employ to teach the topic of the lesson, whatever that may be. Now, the exercises and activities that they are using, of course, may be just based on the textbook, but they may also be based on their own teaching materials. But whatever resources the teacher's making use of, what we observe, the activities, the exercises, the behaviors and actions that we see teachers taking part in and learners taking part in, these are not simply random. They're drawn from a knowledge base about what the subject is, how the subject can be learned, what the difficult aspects of the subject are, how students learn best in an environment like the classroom or elsewhere. So in other words, the activities and practices we see are built around and reflect a knowledge base, an understanding of what language is and how language is learned. Now, when we start with people who wish to enter the English teaching profession and have no practical experience of teaching in a classroom, the first goal is to give them a repertoire of activities and techniques and skills that they can apply when they first get up in the class and begin to teach a group of students. A very stressful experience for people who are new to teaching because they are now taking on a new identity. Previously, they may have studied English as a learner, but now their identity is becoming that of a teacher. What does that mean? Students expect their teachers to be knowledgeable about the subject matter, to be able to manage the learning in a way that they find useful at the right level, the right pace, to use activities and topics and content that's engaging and useful. So what we mean by teacher training is providing novice teachers or those who are wanting to become teachers, providing with the essential knowledge and skills needed to navigate their initial experiences in the classroom. So teacher training refers to preparation for the first experiences of teaching. Now, those first experiences of teaching may actually go on for a year. And so in a teacher training course, we look at what do novice teachers need to know about English? What sort of terminology do they need to be able to master? If students ask them about questions about what is an adverb, why do we use this tense in this sentence and not in another sentence? They need to have some basic knowledge about the nature of English to begin with, to be an English teacher. Knowledge that's not shared with the teachers with teaching other subjects, for example, just as geography teachers need to have knowledge about the nature of geographical concepts. So English teachers need to have a certain working knowledge, a simple working knowledge of the nature of English and how it affects the kinds of activities that they're making use of. The novice teacher also needs to be able to survive, to be taken seriously in the classroom. They need to be able to provide good language models, to be able to give feedback to their students on the errors that they may make, and also to know how to structure lessons so that they have a useful, a beginning, a middle, and an end. They lead to useful practical outcomes. So teacher training is really concerned with the initial practices of teaching, which you acquire through trial and error, through practice teaching, through observing videos of experienced teachers teaching classes, through problem-solving activities of different kinds that give novice teachers the ability to handle both the linguistic demands of lessons as well as the interactional and communicative demands of lessons, so that they have the confidence to be able to stand up in class and to present themselves as a teacher, as a trained teacher. Now, of course, over time, teachers develop and master these skills, and then they want to pursue perhaps further their careers further in terms of the knowledge base and the practical base that are required of today's teachers. So, teacher development refers to a longer term process which involves experienced teachers reflecting on their beliefs and understandings about practice, but adding to their knowledge base further knowledge which will support their understanding and the practice of teaching. So teacher development is a layer of, if you like, of teaching and pedagogy and knowledge that goes beyond what students learned in their initial experiences of teaching. It, of course, involves developing a much more sophisticated understanding of the nature of English, the nature of language learning, different approaches to language teaching, and so on, and also develops and teaches the skills to reflect critically on their own knowledge and awareness of teaching and the beliefs and principles that they bring to their own classroom practices. When we start out preparing initial teachers, it's a kind of expert driven, top down process. In other words, we present them with a package of skills that has been developed by experts, that is materialized through textbooks and various other learning resources that might be digital or print based, but it's essentially an opportunity for the novice teachers to apply these principles and practices which the profession has determined provide the basis for good teaching. But when teachers move ahead in their professional development, they then develop their own personal principles, if you like. They expand their knowledge, they expand their understanding of theories, and so on. And so they develop, if you like, a personal teaching philosophy and its related practices and principles. So not experienced teachers differ greatly in terms of how they approach teaching because teachers are different. The contexts in which they work are different. The knowledge and skills that work in one context may not be as suitable in another. So experienced teachers need to be flexible. They need to be able to improvise and teach based on the circumstances in which they find themselves. So teacher development then involves experienced teachers both looking backwards, looking at where they have come from in terms of their own development, what the gaps in their knowledge might be, and also the skills and knowledge that they need to go further as a language teaching professional. Maybe they want to become a researcher. Maybe they want to become a mentor of other teachers. Maybe they want to develop skills in material development and assessment and so on. So those are the sort of things that typically you'll find in a master's level program in TESOL or applied linguistics. These programs assume that the participating teachers have a knowledge base and an experiential base which they bring with them to the campus, but now as a chance to get together, review those knowledge and principles, to consider other knowledge and principles, to consider how these might be relevant to their own teaching practices, but also to develop in teachers a sense of autonomy and agency, uh, the sense that a professional teacher, what is the identity of a professional teacher, and how does that differ from a novice teacher? And so these are the things that really form the focus of teacher development. It's a longer term, ongoing goals that reflect uh, changes in knowledge, changes of experience, changes in beliefs and principles that teachers experience as they move forward in their professional lives.